Hello students, welcome to a new chapter in class 10 democratic politics. Power sharing. Do you know what is power sharing? Yes, it is the distribution of power among different organs of the government. Let's see the main topics in this lesson. Case studies of Belgium and Sri Lanka, why power sharing is desirable, and different forms of power sharing. First and foremost, let's see the case of Belgium. Belgium is a small country in Europe which shares its boundaries with France, Netherlands, Luxembourg and Germany. Belgium has different regions. As you can see in this map, in the north it is the Flemish region, in the south it is Wallonia region, and in the center you can see the capital of Belgium, Brussels, and in the east we can see a German region. When we see the ethnic composition of population in Belgium, we can understand that in the north region, that is Flemish region, has Dutch speaking people, which is the 59% of population in Belgium, and in the south, that is Wallonia region, French speaking population of 40%. In the east you can see a German speaking population which is a minimal number, that is 1%. But the case of Brussels, the capital of Belgium, is totally different. It has 80% of French speaking and 20% of Dutch speaking population. So you can see a diverse population with linguistic differences in this country. As you know, there was a complexity of ethnic composition of population in Belgium. In the Wallonia region, French speaking population were rich and powerful, and economically they were very well developed, whereas the Flemish region, Dutch speaking population were poor and less powerful, then economically they were backward. This created tension between both the regions, and the capital Brussels witnessed more problems. So the government of Belgium decided to have proper power sharing method in Belgium, which is based on the principle of accommodation. The constitution of Belgium prescribed that number of Dutch and French speaking ministers shall be equal in the central government. Many powers of central government have been given to the state governments of the two regions of the country. The state governments are not subordinate to the central government. Brussels has a separate government in which both the communities have equal representation. Apart from the central and state governments, there is a third kind of government which is known as the community government, elected by the people belonging to a linguistic community, whether Dutch, French or German speaking, no matter where they live. So this is the way the principle of accommodation introduced in Belgium, and it was an ideal way of power sharing in this country. When you see the case of Sri Lanka, you can understand that it is an Asian country which has a population of around 2 crore, and the country also has ethnic communities known as Sinhalese, Sri Lankan Tamils, Indian Tamils and Muslims. So the ethnic composition of population in this country was again complex. Sinhalese, they were of 74% of population. They followed Buddhism. Then the Tamil speakers were 18% of total population. They followed Hinduism or Islam religion. These Tamil speakers were of Sri Lankan Tamils and Indian Tamils, and there were a very less percentage of Muslims and Christians who were both Tamils and Sinhalese. So the principle of power sharing which is followed in Sri Lanka was based on majoritarianism, which is a belief that the majority community should be able to rule the country in whichever way they want by disregarding the wishes and needs of the minority. Let's see the major aspects of majoritarianism in Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka emerged as an independent country in 1948. In 1956, an act was passed to recognize Sinhala as the only official language, thus disregarding Tamil. The government followed preferential policy that favored Sinhala applicants for university positions and government jobs, and a new constitution stipulated that the state shall protect and foster Buddhism as its religion. Tamils felt that the constitution and the government policies denied their equal political rights and discriminated against them in getting jobs and other opportunities, ignore their interests. The Sri Lankan Tamils launched political parties and struggles for the recognition of Tamil as an official language, for regional autonomy and equality of opportunity in securing education and jobs. By 1980s, several political organizations were formed demanding an independent Tamil state in northern and eastern parts of Sri Lanka. The distrust between the two communities turned into widespread conflict in Sri Lanka, and it soon turned into a civil war, started from 1983 and it was ended in 2009. That resulted the death of many people in Sri Lanka. So when you compare both these cases of Belgium and Sri Lanka, we can understand that the ideal way of power sharing was the Belgium model. Now let's see the second topic in this chapter, why power sharing is desirable. Power sharing ensures the stability of political order, because in a political setup there are so many political institutions. So it is very essential to define the power of each and every organizations in a political setup. Secondly, power sharing is the very spirit of democracy. As you know, democracy is ruled by people. So, power is vested in the hands of people. Power sharing is also based on prudential and moral reasons. Prudential reason based on the careful calculation of gains and losses. For example, in India, reservation of seats for scheduled caste and scheduled tribes is given based on a prudential reason, whereas moral reason based on moral considerations, for example, decentralization of power in India. Let's see the last topic in this chapter, different forms of power sharing. Power is shared among different organs of the government. As you know, there are three organs: legislature, executive and judiciary. So all these three organs are having different power, but they are at the same level. So it is also known as horizontal distribution of power. In this form of power sharing, each organ has different power at the same level, and they cross-check their utilization of power to ensure that they don't practice unlimited power. It is known as checks and balances. Secondly, power is shared among governments at different levels. If you look at the diagram, you can see that there is a union government for the whole country, then state government, then local government, which comprises of panchayats and municipality levels. So this is actually called as the vertical distribution of power. Third form of power sharing is among different social groups. In India, there are many religious and linguistic groups, like the case of community government in Belgium. Reservation in election for minorities and weaker section is one example for this form of power sharing. The last form of power sharing is among political parties, pressure groups and movements. As you know, political parties are groups of people, they have common ideology and they contest in elections to form the government. Pressure groups and movements, they don't have any political affiliation, but they also influence in a political system or in the government. So in this kind of power sharing, you can see there are different political parties that represent different ideologies and social groups. And in a democracy, we find interest groups such as those of traders, businessmen, industrialists, farmers, industrial workers, and they all will share governmental power. In this context, you must also understand the term coalition, which means that two or more parties form an alliance to contest in elections. With this, we conclude this chapter, power sharing. Thank you.